send the link to the other teachers. How have you been?
I've been good. Just kind of this fellowship that I got it in December. But it's only for a temporary position, so trying to figure out next steps soon. It's until November, so I'm trying to figure out next steps soon.
Where are you at now? I see Mr. Williams all the time, and he's always like, "How is Cynthia doing?" I'm like, "I don't know."
No, well, right now I'm still in. So after like during the pandemic, I moved from Denton back to Fort Worth. But then in August, I'll move to DC for a couple of months, and then either find a job in DC or come back to Texas and try to find something here.
And you're still doing like the sustainability geography thing?
Yeah. So right now I'm a little bit leaning just because of the position. It's a little bit leaning more on policy, but still I'm gonna try to move a little bit more back to geography, like analysis, GIS type of thing.
Very cool. Um, just waiting for them to log on and then I'll get this started. So in APES right now, we're watching Contagion, and I'm watching it in biology too. And then we just did we bought a zoo, and then we're gonna watch Interstellar tomorrow. And then I might add Sahara because Matthew McConaughey. So all right, it looks like they're on. So let me go ahead and welcome everyone. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to Ms. Tran, Ms. Liz, Mr. McNeely's classes, and to my own class. Just wanted to introduce our guest speaker for today. This is Cynthia Ortiz. She is also a Northside alumni. I'm loving all the Northside alumni that are coming back to talk to y'all, because once upon a time they were sitting, I'm pretty sure all of them at one time were sitting where you were sitting. The rooms looked a little different, but they were definitely sitting in the same spot as you. And now they're doing these exciting careers, and they've had some amazing opportunities. So I don't want to, even though I love the story, I'm going to let Cynthia tell her story about her post high school journey to get to where she's at and where her career track is going right now. So without further ado, this is Cynthia Ortiz.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me. I'm gonna try to figure out to share my screen. I'm not sure if this stuff is figured it out. It's okay.
Sorry, that's my bad. Okay, you have permission now.
All right, everyone. Let me see. Awesome. So my name is Cynthia. I'm gonna give a little bit of background before getting to UNT. So I had the pleasure to have Miss Tuff as an environmental science teacher my junior year, and then that kind of just changed my trajectory and like what I wanted to do. And I got really interested into the environmental sciences field, sustainability, environmental justice, so forth. And I ended up going to UNT, and I majored in environmental geography, and I got a minor in data analytics and a certificate in GIS, geographic information systems. And once I got there, I kind of did a little bit of everything. Some research. This is an example of something that I did. I was involved in student organizations, volunteering, and sustainability, campus efforts, and conferences, and so forth. Um, and now I'm an environmental justice fellow at LULAC, and I'll get a little bit into what that means and how I got there and so forth. Um, so I graduated in May last year during the pandemic, and that was pretty rough. Just trying to figure out graduation and next steps and so forth. But I was lucky enough to get this position with LULAC um, in December. And this is a year long position, so my time is a little bit running out. and we'll have to figure out next steps afterwards. But a little bit about LULAC. They're the largest and oldest like Latino civil rights organization in the United States. And we cover various issues that are health, COVID-19, immigration, education, tech, climate change, and environmental justice. And in this position, I lead the climate change and environmental justice portfolio. And that ranges from several issues, so understanding climate change, environmental justice, clean water issues, air and health issues, clean energy and jobs, land and infrastructure, disaster resilience, and climate migration. So all these issues are very intersected. So being able to understand all these issues in order to communicate them. So whether that's fact sheets on environmental issues or legislation, letters to members of Congress or to our members, videos kind of portraying, like kind of simplifying what these issues are for our members, since most of our members are Latinos. And then also, I also do some mapping and toolkits, action alerts, and then also social media campaigns and research as well on these issues and legislation. And a little bit more, and I'll get a little bit more of what, so for example, if I can pull this up, this is an example of just something that I've been working on that still needs some editing, but will be hopefully, I don't know if it'll let me play. Okay, I don't think it's gonna let me play. That's all right. Present. And then kind of like looking ahead, just because my position is a fellowship position, I'm interested in kind of like, I'm early in my career. I'm looking at these kind of positions like environmental policy analyst, environmental data analyst, or environmental GIS specialist, and kind of focusing more on like the water, energy, and natural disasters issues. But yeah, that's a little bit of what I've been doing. But yeah, like just taking it back to Northside, I was in the same classrooms that y'all are at, and was not really sure where I was going. But lucky enough, I had great mentors like Miss Tuff and Miss Scott to kind of to guide me a little bit more and find those resources. So I would say, like in y'all's position, whether it's like, you know, trying to get a feel within the environmental space or not, being able to reach out to your teachers or anybody for letters of rec or advice or anything, I would definitely recommend it. Right now, I'm still early in my career, but I am definitely grateful for where I'm at, and I definitely don't think it would have been without the encouragement that I received from people at Northside, especially Miss Tuff and Miss Scott, and I had great mentors. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I know that it was very quick, but I will definitely want to open it up to any questions or conversation if that allows it. I'm not really sure.
Absolutely. So one of the questions that I know always gets asked, and it's the first question that everyone wants to know, is what is your favorite part of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely right now my favorite part is that the environmental space is very large, and right now in my position, I am directly conversating and hopefully helping in a way that it's for my community. It's not, it's like in the environmental space, a lot of the issues are affecting the Latino community, is affecting Northside, is affecting, you know, where we live. And, you know, right now I'm still in the Northside area for right now. The position is based in DC, but I'm conversating with folks in California, Puerto Rico, Texas, all across the US that are facing these issues. And I'm able to either establish or find a way that the people that I'm talking to can relate their issues to members of Congress or to the representatives and create some kind of change. Just because, again, like I value a lot of like my position to where I grew up and how I grew up. So being able to bring people in similar positions to the conversation and to the table is really important. And also mapping. I love GIS. I'm a big nerd for that.
So what does mapping entail?
Yeah, so it could be really complicated or not complicated at all. So you can do something kind of like similar, like something called story maps. And that's basically kind of they can use for presentations and kind of being able to tell a story through maps, storytelling through maps and pictures and videos and text. Similar to like a PowerPoint presentation, but like a lot more customizable. But then also the more, I guess, complex GIS or mapping would be able to use data to kind of either, you had to first clean the data, but then either, like the mappings has to make sense for what you're trying to find and what you're trying to figure out. So for example, if I can pull my screen up again. So for this position, for this research that I did, a lot of so this would be considered mapping and not a very complicated mapping situation. So this research tried to look into where injection wells were located in respect to water supply wells. So being able to, so not to give too much context, but there is a conversation about injection wells, which is like the substance that is left over from fracking. And in in the environmental space, there are people saying that it's not an issue, some saying that is an issue, but my outlook wasn't to whether it was an issue or not an issue. My outlook was to map out where these injection wells were in respect to where we get our water, and if there was ever an issue, okay, where these communities are, and who would be affected the most. So this is what's most located in Weiss County and Benton County are the ones that I analyzed. So being able to just not present like a table, but being able to present like a visualization of what is happening is why I love mapping. I'm a very visual person. So this is just like a simple example of what mapping contains, and then being able to find the tools to show those what's going on. So just for example, like this is like a very simple tool that's like, you have like your county, but then you also create buffers, and you're able to create 1 mile, 2 miles, and those are very customizable buffers, and figuring out how close these injection wells were in respect to the water supply, and so forth. And then, yeah, that's just a little example of what mapping contains.
I'm totally stealing that segment of this video for apes next year. So how do you get into, how did you get to being where you are? How do you get into this career path that you are now on? What were the steps you had to take?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's not a one way to figure it all out. I'm still very actively trying to figure it out as well. I think what definitely kind of helped was while I was in undergrad, I very much was very involved with environmental organizations on campus. I was also involved with like sustainability efforts, like I mentioned, and was I'm very passionate about the environment, as Ms. Tuff may have known and ingrained in me when I was a junior, and that just never stopped. That class just kind of like that's where it started, and then it just continued and it hasn't stopped. So I always actively try to pursue ways that I could create be engaged in some type of way. But I think this position I was able to receive just because I also interned in DC when I was an undergrad for a congressman, because my university had a program that allowed for me to do that. And I applied and I received it. So I spent a semester in DC, and similar to what I was doing, like researching environmental infrastructure, climate change, legislation. Um, and then, was able to make some contacts, and then this position um, opened up. And I think now, as I'm looking ahead, I want to retreat a little bit more, and like still some policy, but a little bit more um, analytical work in the terms of like more GIS and more data. So I'm trying to find something a little bit more in between. um, I hope my stuff is okay. But yeah, that's still what I'm trying to figure out, since I'm still early in my career. But I would definitely say that there is um, no one way path. For example, my background is very much different from the people that I work with. I do have a more focus on GIS and the sciences. I took more classes on earth science and data analytics, so a little bit more on the tech and earth courses classes. But I think those courses allow me to have a different perspective, not necessarily so policy perspective, but a little bit more of like a science perspective, which I think helps. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Cynthia took AP Environmental Science when she was at Northside. She took it her junior year, and that's a class that you can take after you've taken chemistry. That's basically my only requirement, is that you have taken chemistry. Honors chemistry helps. Honors chemistry is awesome, but just as long as you have a basic fundamental understanding of chemicals, you can take that class. So I know the answer to this question, especially from the involvement in politics sense. But did you always want to pursue this career? And if not, what was it that drove you to take this route?
Yeah. So I touched upon it a little bit, but I in undergrad in high school, was not very I was for the first 3 years I was not very motivated. um I knew how to like kind of just, I know that I took a class with my cousin as well, with Miss Tuff, and he just took like, he would just do like get 70% and move forward. Um, and I before I got to Miss Tuff's class, that was very much maybe it runs in the family, but I was very much in the same boat, where I was not as motivated. And I'm not saying this is the way that it should be, but I think once I took like a course, which was the environmental class with Miss Tuff, that kind of just changed my perspective and like what I wanted to do. And I became a lot more motivated to like even, start thinking about college and my career. And I think being in Northside as a student, it's very hard to think that you can get out of the bubble. Um, and I think once I took that course, that kind of changed like my trajectory and what I wanted to do. I was, thinking of doing. I was also very involved with like music beforehand, so I was thinking music, but then engineering, and then once I took the environmental science course with Miss Tuff, um, that kind of just changed things. Like I became very passionate about it. Um, about the issues that we were talking about in the environmental science class. I was gravitated towards like water a lot, and also energy. And, I wasn't really sure where I fit in the space in environmental science. So once I got to UNT, I was thinking about doing environmental science, strictly environmental science. Um, and then I explored geography, and geography was even, um, like I liked it even more. And I decided to switch to geography, and that kind of allowed me to have a little bit more of a wide perspective on these issues. So I took classes on earth science, I took classes on cultural classes, but I also took GIS classes. So it gave me like a little sense of like the different aspects that come into um, these type of positions. So um, I've like kind of like the style of teaching geography is like having like a holistic perspective on issues, and I think being able to be in a geography student allowed for me to do that because I was in like groundwater courses, but then I was also in um, GIS courses and like being able to put those things together, but then also how we interact with the environment, how humans interact with the environment, and how all of that intersects allowed for like geography. My classes in geography allow for me to kind of put those things together, and then my nerdy techie side with like data and GIS kind of took it to a little bit a higher level, and that's kind of what I want to pursue a little bit more. And in terms of like policy and environment, I was one of the subjects in environmental science is like the different acts that have been established, like the Clean Air Act, the Water Act, so forth, the Clean Water Rule, and so forth. And I was really interested in that as well. And funny enough, like that's stuff that I look into as well now and try to like simple down and relay it to our our members. So very much like once I was in the environmental space and learned a little bit more about it, I definitely did something that I didn't know as much was the fact that the issues that we covered were mostly affecting, my community. And when I think of my community, I think of Northside. So that kind of was just like um, figuring out ways that I could help the climate change environmental movement in the sense of like helping the people that are being affected the most, which is my community, which I think was really important. And that's something that I definitely want to be able to do something about and give back, but then also moving forward, like building my career around this in whatever shape or form that is.
So, okay, I have two more questions. The first one is going to be, okay, maybe three. Who's the most interesting person that you've met along your journey? Um, and then an interesting story from your work experience, and then some advice for students.
Actually, give me 1 second. I'm going to show.
Y'all, while she's getting this, I can promise you, I know she's met some really cool people.
So for me in DC, I met some cool people. Definitely some members of Congress, which was really cool. But the favorite person that I met, which actually was at UNT, and I know that I gave something to Miss Tuff, but I actually met Jane Goodall. I don't know if you can see her. Um, yeah, I met her, and she signed the book. Well, y'all can't see it, y'all can only see leaves. But y'all can see Miss Tubbs. But yeah, that was definitely like an amazing experience. She gave an amazing talk, and I was able to meet her, which was really amazing. Um, she's just done like she's just really inspirational. Has done like amazing work for the space, and that would definitely be my number one person that I've met. Um, what was the other question and stuff?
What's an interesting story along your career? Like, what was like a day that you just look back and you're like, that was really fun?
Um, Honestly, I would just say like throughout my undergrad career, and undergrad experience, like throughout, like it was just really cool to meet other people that really cared about the environment and like was always trying to do stuff. We volunteered together. We were trying to like create projects together. Like I think that's the amazing part. Like when I was in high school, and you'll meet Eileen later this week, but me and Eileen were very much like always like we both connected in the fact that we took the environmental science course with Ms. Tuff as juniors together, and we really got hooked on this topic. But she was kind of, her and Ms. Tuff were like the only two other people that I could talk about these things. And once I got to college, being able to meet a bunch of people that really cared about this and were trying to build a career out of this and like, you know, lived and breathed this was like really cool. Like there's so many people that really are really trying to do amazing work. So just being able to talk to them and be in their presence, and you know, even my position right now, like talking to people that are in organizations that I just knew about in high school and college, but now I'm talking to those people. So like to organizations like NRDC, um, EDF, Earth Justice, like these big environmental organizations, but also like local grassroots organizations, like being able to speak to people all over the spectrum, either members of Congress, is really cool. Just being able to kind of connect and just talk about these issues and figure out ways that we could improve the lives of our community is like really, really cool.
Okay, and then the last question, what's some advice you have for these students who are sitting here who are maybe like on the fence about which way they want to go and what they want to do moving forward?
Yeah, I would definitely say like it's useful to reach out to folks that are in those positions. If you know, whether your teachers have those connections or whether alumni has those connections, like I would say like reach out and try to connect with people that have been through it, whether it's like, you know, whether it's me or other people that y'all listen to through these conversations. I would say definitely like reach out to people that have been through this or trying to figure it out as well. And I would definitely say like once y'all are applying for financial aid, college, and so forth, you know, like I've been in the position as well. I was at Northside. I was in those classrooms, so I definitely understand like how hard it could be, especially from um, predominantly like Latino community. I know how hard it could be to branch out and try to like eventually maybe um, move to college. Like I definitely understand that, but I would say definitely don't give up on any of those, you know, goals, dreams, and definitely use those resources. Like use Miss Tuff for letters of rec if you have a good connection with her, or use like the organizations that you're with, like student organizations, like get involved in that, build like leadership skills. You know, build leadership skills now. Volunteer. Um, you know, just like you have. I definitely think of the times where like I could have used that time more effectively. So it's never too late and it's never too early. I think you're in a perfect time to, you know, start exploring things, start figuring out what you like or you don't like. And, you know, along the way, like building those like leadership skills and building those connections, I think is very important.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning. If you guys have any questions you want me to pass on to Cynthia, I always look for an excuse to say hi and check in with her and see how things are going. So I'm very happy to pass those questions on. Just get them to your teachers and get them to me, and I'll be happy to ask. And then I think that's it. So remember, like environmental science, the foundation behind environmental science is biology. And that if you don't understand the basic biology of living things being dependent on one another and the interconnectedness in ecology, it's going to be very challenging to thrive in the environmental space, no matter how much physics you know and everything else in the engineering. If you don't get the foundational pieces, it makes it very challenging. So thank you for coming in, Cynthia.
Of course.
If you guys have any other questions, just let me know.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Like I just said, if you have any questions, just pass it on to Ms. Tuff and I'd be happy to connect with any of y'all.